From Orlando, Florida and Tulsa, Oklahoma, welcome to the 1330 Podcast with your hosts, Keith-nachbor and Brent-Bailey. Pulling from nearly half a century of experience, Brent and Keith share unique wisdom and proven insight to build the leader within you. Interact with us now on Facebook and Twitter at 1330 Podcast or email your questions and comments to 1330podcast@gmail.com. The 1330 Podcast starts right now.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the 1330 Podcast, where I'm Keith-nachbor.
I'm Brent-Bailey.
Brent is the pastor of Direction Church in Orlando, Florida.
And Keith is the head honcho at theresourcedoctor.com.
Well, there we go.
What do you call yourself? The Grand Poobah? What's the...
They just refer to me as Doctor.
Doc.
The Doc.
The Doc.
The Doc. But,
but we worked together for 11 plus years as youth pastors at a big church in Oklahoma, and we just had a great time serving God together, raising up a generation or two in that time.
Several. Multi-generational.
Together, and we just like sharing our thoughts on life and leadership and church and ministry and just doing things, events, and so we just thought we'd share some of our time with you. So
welcome. Pull up a chair, sit back, grab a soda, and enjoy the
unless
next
you're in your car driving down the freeway, and in which case pay attention to the road, but pay attention
10 and 2.
Pay attention to the words that are coming out of our mouth.
Absolutely. So, hey, speaking of being in the car, Brent, when you go on a journey, I'm a destination guy.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not one of those, like when we go, our family lives 12 hours from us, 12 and a half hours from us. And enjoying the trip, that 12 hours in the car that's
I'm
long gone and
I'm not
forgotten.
a Clark Griswold fan.
Yeah,
myself.
So every time we load up the crew and head north to Minnesota, it tends to, it's great. There's a lot of enthusiasm, but the enthusiasm isn't for the next 12 hours of my life. The enthusiasm is for the following, after that initial 12 hours.
What's coming?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when we go on a trip and we're on life like this, we've got to learn to enjoy the journey, because there's a lot of people that are out there, Brent, that, man, life is just a grind.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they're really getting a lot out of
and
it. They're not enjoying it.
Never happy with it.
No,
never.
They always want to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like I said, we drive 12 hours. I have literally driven from Tulsa, Oklahoma up to Minneapolis and points west of there. At this point in my life, I think I've done it almost 100 times. My car will do it on its own. It knows
just
the way.
Pointed that direction.
Yeah, we're going
kind of like the old horseback riders.
Absolutely.
You just point them in that direction.
We just punch it into the GPS and the car's on autopilot, man. I wish. That would be awesome. I can't wait for self-driving cars. Google needs to get on that.
Yeah, they need to make that happen quick.
The journey that we have there is so much more enjoyable when we're all talking and having fun, and it's a road trip.
Yeah.
We as a family, we're not arguing and fighting about, getting the car packed and getting all our junk in there and, in the suitcases and loaded up in the back of the truck and getting everything going. It's just a lot of fun when we're all together and we're just enjoying our time together. Pointing things out that we haven't seen together before. My daughter and I went on a road trip this last summer, and I like racing. So we went to a sprint car race in Rossburg, Ohio. Ask me where Rossburg, Ohio is. I don't know. It's in Ohio, in the middle of nowhere. And we went to a sprint car race out there. I asked my daughter. I had a friend from Ohio who said, man, you need to come out to this race. So we went, or we were talking, and I said, well, I'll ask my daughter, see what's going to go. No promises. It was on a Wednesday. The race was on Friday or Saturday. And my daughter walked in, and I said, hey, do you want to go to Ohio? And she's like, yes. And I said, do you want to know why we're going to Ohio, Savannah? And she's like, sure. I don't care. But she was just up for the road trip. It was an adventure. We'd never done it before. I'd never been to Ohio before.
Never?
Never. So I was able to scratch mark another state off of where I'm at, and I'm up somewhere around 40 right now. And but we went on this trip, and then on the way home, we stopped in St. Louis, went up in the Arch, walked around down by the river, and we just had the greatest time together because we were enjoying the journey. And it wasn't something where we weren't rushed. We just kind of took our time, and it was no big deal. If we wanted to stop, we stopped. If we wanted to drive, we drove. And we just enjoyed the trip. And I feel like that's how life is supposed to be, is that we find some people, we say, hey, you want to do this? And they're like, yeah, yes, I want to do that. Let's change somebody's life.
Yeah.
And that's what it's like when we're going for volunteers. Hey, do you want to do something? Brent, everybody wants to do something.
Right.
Always. To me, it was always the easiest thing in the world to get volunteers because I'm going on a journey. I'm doing something. Do you want to do something too? Yes, I want to do something. Do you want to know what we're going to do? Sure. I'm up for anything. And that's part of life with that, of really getting into that and enjoying your time that we have, because, John 10:10 tells us that Jesus came that we would have life and have it to its full.
Yeah. The fullest.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna go on a trip somewhere, it isn't just about. And by the way, Rossburg is just a little bit northwest of Dayton, Ohio. For those of you who are listening and were wondering, it is the country. You were in the middle.
One stoplight in the town.
Yeah. But if you're going on that journey and you're out there, it's easy to want to get there. I mean, There's a reason why the airline industry is booming so much, because people don't want to take the time to get there. And in some cases, it's very understandable. I'm here in Tulsa, Oklahoma this week from Orlando, Florida, because I had to get out here quick and do that. I flew.
Yep.
And God willing, I'll never have to drive that again. But
only in a U-Haul, Brent. Only in a U-Haul.
In the transition of life, it's not always the same as going somewhere and just enjoying it. Life is not. There's a saying, life is a journey, and it is, but it's not A to B. It's A to B.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a long journey.
Look at your own life, Brent. Have you ever, when we look back in our lives and we say, the shortest point between, what is it? The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line.
Right.
And we look at our lives and we think, well, we need to be straight lining to everything. We've got to redeem the time. But when I look at my life has been like a river. It just has meandered from place to place. And the experiences of it, they weren't, it's the way that God wanted me to go. It really was the shortest distance. It wasn't the quickest, but it was the right way. It was the journey.
Best. It was the best way.
You're right.
And that's what we were going to talk about, is that when you're going on this journey, why do you need to take the time to enjoy where you are right now? Because I don't really like where I'm at right now. The children of Israel didn't like being in the desert for 40 years, and it really wasn't God's perfect will for them to be in the desert for 40 years. But if they had learned to enjoy it the way it was happening, which was an atmosphere of faith, it wouldn't have lasted 40 years. But what happens when you're out there wandering around and you're on this journey? Well, you learn a whole lot, about yourself.
Yep.
And that's it. That's probably the most important thing you need to learn is, we're always learning about God, and obviously everything we're talking about here is in light of that. We're going to look through those glasses, through everything else. We got to learn about God the most. But ourselves are the things that we are what we need to know about so that we can understand why things happen.
Yeah.
Because really, we're the reason a lot of things happen. We are not at fault, but we've put ourselves in position sometimes that a lot of things happen because of our actions. And so when you're on this journey, you need to learn about yourself. And so while you're there, right before we started recording this podcast, we're sitting here in Oral Roberts' office at his house, and we're sitting here, and I said, all right, let's just take a second. And we both got out our phones, and we took a little video, and we took some pictures, and we just kind of just paused for a second to enjoy the journey. Enjoy what's going on.
Soak the moment up.
Soak the moment up. Take a look around. Take a deep breath. And learn about yourself. And learn what you're doing. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this again? Because we want to help people. And we learned that about ourselves. That was after knowing each other for, can you believe we've known each other for 13 years now? And so we have learned enough about each other because we enjoyed what we were doing while we were doing it. Which brings me to the next thing. Not only do you learn about yourself, but you learn about your team, the people that are doing it with you.
Yep.
There are some great stories that we could start telling right now and fill up 50 podcasts of stories of people that served with us, kids that were in the youth group with us, things that have happened. I mean, I could start dropping things right now and get Keith laughing because we learned so much about people and the team. And
it was all on the journey, though. It was being there together.
And if it was always only about the end result, we would have missed so much.
Yep. Well, and that's how it is with life. If we just look at it as getting to the destination, what's our destination? A box 6 feet underground.
Exactly right.
You know,
Heaven,
I mean, as far as life
side,
and heaven on the other, you're right, a heaven on the other side of it. But there's so much more to do in there. And I know there's a lot of things to do, but, you know, we used to do both of us did. We'd have our leaders over to our house. We'd grill and cook and just spend time with one another. Summer camps, we'd stay up late with whether it was other adult volunteers or whether it was teenagers, and we just sit around sitting around and talking and learning about one another. And I look back, and some of my fondest memories have been not where it was some big scheduled, and everything was worked out, line by line on everything. It was just a very kind of spontaneous moment where we were all together. And all of a sudden, we had this great experience together. What brought us so close together, Brent? It was the journey that we did this together.
We ate lunch every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, we did eat lunch every day
together.
The very
first day that we ate lunch together, we went to the Atomic Burrito on 71st Street in Tulsa, and that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship because we started learning a lot about each other that up to that point we didn't know. In fact, we'd been told the exact opposite, and we would.
You're going to hate that guy.
You just don't even mess. You won't like him.
Don't even try and talk to him.
Yeah. And we would, if we'd have listened to that and just kept that as the end result and not enjoyed the journey, we wouldn't have known all the great things that we know. And there's still so many things. I just found out just a few short months ago that Keith plays the saxophone, which it totally blew me away. I had no idea all these years we've known each other.
Because I tell everybody I don't have any rhythm or musical ability. Which I still don't, but I was able to play the saxophone.
The other thing that you learn, and we'll start wrapping this thing up, is you learn a lot about the process of what what it is that you're doing, and the more you do it. Now, again, I don't like to be inefficient and do things 50 times. I don't like to do that. I don't like to be all over the place. Okay, but the more I do something, the more efficient I become at it.
And the more confident you become at it.
And the more I feel like I could do it just as good or better than anybody.
Yep.
And okay, just a great example. We did at least 12 summer camps together. If you count the year we did 2, we did somewhere around 15 summer camps together.
Yep.
Okay. We did about 13 youth conferences and multi other things. We feel pretty confident about that process because we did it so much. But when it came time to get the work done, it was like, my body knows this is going to be difficult. But I had the biggest smile on my face because it was time to do that. And I felt pretty good. I feel pretty confident about pulling off a summer camp. I think I could do it myself.
I'm pretty sure we could do that right now if we needed to, Brent.
Because we learned so much.
Yeah, about that process.
So take the time and enjoy the journey. Don't go through life rushing, trying to get to the end result. Get there, but enjoy the time it takes to get there.
And learn your lesson so that you don't have to keep wandering in the desert and walking around that mountain.
All right. If you want to get a hold of us, drop us an email at 1330podcast@gmail.com. Until next time, this is Brent.
I'm Keith. Enjoy your afternoon, evening, or morning.
Thanks for joining us for the 1330 Podcast with Brent and Keith. We want to hear from you. Find us on Facebook and Twitter today at 1330 Podcast or email us directly at 1330podcast@gmail.com. Join us next time for another 13 minutes and 30 seconds geared to change you into the leader that you and those who follow you want you to be.